Databox built thought leadership by creating content with their audience. So the key here is not to create content for your audience, but with your audience. And that is what we are known for now. We are someone who is not afraid to show opinions of others, who is not afraid to showcase different experiences. It's all about figuring out things together. We never positioned ourselves as a jack of all trades, we know everything, we're the best. We're always hey, our customers are the ones who know the best, because that is really true. And let's ask them for help. And our customers are also our audience. So that's how everything works together.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plugin.fm, where we extract key lessons from top entrepreneurs to inspire your business growth. My name is Patrick Rolland. I'm an e-commerce expert and educator, and I'm here with my co-host Goran Mirkovic, a content marketing specialist and the CMO at Freemius. Today, we're going to be chatting with Tamara Omerovic. And before I go any further, I will acknowledge that I have a ridiculous Christmas sweater on. And if you're just listening to the podcast, you should check us out on YouTube to see this ridiculous sweater. Welcome to the show, Tamara.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm really excited to talk about UGC today. UGC is user-generated content. But before we get into exactly what Tamara built with Databox, Tamara, what is UGC and maybe some really examples of UGC that you've seen as a marketer?
Of course. So user-generated content is basically any kind of content that your users or customers create about your brand or products instead of you creating it yourself. So this could be anything like social media posts, reviews and testimonials, or blog posts or articles. But here's another thing I want to mention about UGC. So it doesn't have to be just about your product itself. So it can also be about best practices, solutions to common problems, or any topic that's actually relevant to your customers. For example, at the Databox, we weren't primarily focused on showcasing how people used our analytics software. We actually encouraged users to share their expertise on things such as key metrics to track and report on. So one of the topics could be what should SaaS companies be measuring to achieve their goals? Or what should marketing teams be measuring to understand their performance and similar. Then also we explored best practices for using the tools we integrate with. So how can you get the most out of GA4 or HubSpot? And then also solutions to some of the common challenges our customers face. So how to choose the right visualizations for your dashboards, how often to report on your performance, and so on and so on. So I'm mentioning this because this broader approach helped us create a ton of valuable content that addressed our audience's needs and made us a go-to resource, of course, over time in the analytics space. And this is not a typical way of doing user-generated content. I actually haven't yet encountered a company who does it the same way, but I want to mention this because I think it's actually the right way to do it. When it comes to some really good examples, one example that really sticks with me is the GoPro Awards program. So GoPro, we all know what the product is about. So they encourage their users to submit their best photos and videos taken with their cameras. And the winning submissions get featured on the GoPro website and social media. And it's just incredible amount of content to see. So it's not only a constant stream of amazing content for the company, but it also shows what their cameras can do in a way that no fancy ad campaign could ever achieve. And today, if I read this somewhere, I think that their users, customers, generate around 6,000 videos every day, which is insane. And another example that I like is Buffer. So this is something closer to what Databox is trying to achieve overall. So their user-generated content is not about their product, but about the people that use it. So they've built a community where users share content about their lives and passions using the hashtag Buffer community. And I like this because it shows the brand's personality and builds connections with users in a way that goes beyond just promoting their product.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Thanks for the cool examples. But when we kind of think about user-generated content, as someone who has over a decade experience in marketing, this is not something that is suddenly popular. It's always something that people wanted to see your users basically creating content for you and like showcasing your either philosophy or like value of a product or anything in between by themselves, like in a non marketingy way. But given what has recently kind of happened with SEO and like the whole EEAT uh, algorithm change, do you think that user generated content is becoming even more important? Because from my perspective, I'm seeing more and more people trying to include quotes in their articles to reach out to more subject matter experts to collaborate. So can you share some like your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, definitely. There's something interesting that I wanted to mention, especially regarding AI. AI writing tools made content creation faster and cheaper. So now everyone is producing content, trying to scale content, and so on and so on. But this has also worsened the issue we have in general in content marketing. Like we have an issue with bland, repetitive, generic, copycat content. And we are generally oversaturated. And this oversaturation has led to two big challenges that any business actually needs to work on to overcome. So we are dealing with increased reader distrust. So audiences are becoming more discerning and skeptical of information from unknown brands. And the second thing is shifting content consumption habits. So people are turning away from traditional websites and seeking answers on social media and community forums where discussions feel more authentic and human. And this shift highlights a crucial need. So people actually crave genuine conversation and connection. So now we are living in a world of increasingly automated content, and customers, audiences, they're looking for spaces where they can engage with real people, where they can share their experiences and where they can learn from each other. And this is where any business can truly make a difference.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you think, just like an extension of this question, is as like an SME, as like a subject matter expert, do you think you can actually like leverage this as a relevant marketing strategy to kind of contribute to like websites, like let's say Databox or others who are like keen to feature subject matter experts? Can you actually grow your personal brand and business like that nowadays?
Definitely can. You definitely can. Like if you contribute to relevant brands, if you share your genuine experience and knowledge, like over time, this inevitably brings exposure for you, and like it can help you promote your services, your product in a very natural way. It's not about just getting a backlink or something like that, but it can really bring value for the contributors as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about AI. Getting into blogging 10 years ago, sometimes I would write a post and I'm the only person who wrote that post. But we live in a totally different world now where we are just absolutely swamped in data. And anything that gives you unique data that only you have, and maybe it's just a unique quote. I know that's maybe the smallest form of unique data, but anything that gives you uniqueness, I just feel like is worth pursuing. Anything that gives you the slightest edge of like, we actually have real users saying here's 10 real users what they said about our product. That is just so much more valuable than a recycled blog post.
Yeah, and even like if those best practices seem basic, at least you have some confirmation that they work, or
Yeah.
you see how someone else used them. So I think like it has a completely different perspective.
Yeah. So we were just talking about blogging, and have you used UGC in a lot of other mediums? Are you using it in videos or other marketing mediums?
Databox was always focused only on blog posts, so that still is the space for user-generated content. And then it's all about repurposing. So repurposing in the newsletter that we have on social media, like highlighting some quotes or some insights, tagging the respondents. Sometimes we even dedicate an entire podcast episode to some research findings, or have like an internal team member or a partner that we work with, like comment on the results and on the insights. But like primarily it was on the blog. I mean, it still is on the blog.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a bunch of other questions, but I think we really want to get into this case study with Databox because I think that'll help us talk about all the other issues here. So what did you do at Databox and how did it relate to UGC?
So to explain the strategy we had in the most simple way, I'm also going to add some examples. I think it will be easier. So our strategy at Databox mainly revolves around crowdsourcing quotes from experts on different topics that are relevant to our audience and product. So broadly speaking, our blog is about business analytics, KPIs, and metrics. So for example, instead of writing a typical blog post, when I say typical, I wouldn't say like AI content, but like recycling existing information. So instead of doing that, we actually create a survey and ask people to share their experiences and opinions. We do a statistical analysis of the sample and we feature the best quotes in the final article. After the article goes live, we would email the people featured and promote the post on social media channels. Here, we also tag the people who participated, which helps us drive engagement. So I'm going to go a bit deeper to give you an example around a specific topic. So if we are writing an article about the best practices to increase YouTube CTR, we are going to look for companies and marketers that have a successful YouTube channel or marketing agencies that specialize in video marketing. Apart from the open-end question, where we collect the quotes, we also have additional multiple choice questions that help us gather relevant information on the topic in general. So what is their average CTR? So that helps us see if they're successful or not in this topic at all. How often they post new videos on YouTube, which video optimization tactics brought them the best results, and so on. These additional questions are important because they help us gather statistical data and uncover insights about video marketing in general. And what I think is interesting to mention is that when we combine all the surveys we ran on a specific topic, we can also create an original statistics post, which we also do. And the strategy is in general very complex and very hard for me to describe. So if I would have to describe it maybe in one sentence, I would say it's a unique combination of influencer marketing, original research, and social promotion.
This is really interesting, but what's in it for the contributor? Because, let's say that you're a software company, you're watching this episode, you're kind of bought into the idea of investing in such a system and building it for your business, but you are relatively small. Can you give us some examples how you potentially entice people to collaborate? That would be, I think, really helpful. Plus, if I'm understanding this correctly, this is basically a strategy where you build one central asset and then spawn out of a couple of articles or items from it, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to incentives, one of the things that we thought that was an incentive were backlinks, because Databox had such a strong domain. But that, after a lot of time we spent doing this, we realized that it's actually the results and it's really the content. So our contributors were generally interested in seeing the results and seeing the best practices from other experts. And this could be a really good incentive. If you want to create generally quality content that is really helpful, then you are not going to have issues with people contributing to it. And also, what I think it's a good incentive is that they can actually network with other experts. So they can be, oh, you contribute to Databox content a while ago. Me too. We should hang out, or I don't know, work together or whatever. So that was also something that worked for us really well, and that I think this is something that businesses should definitely leverage as an incentive. If they are trying to pursue this program.
Mm. The thing that seems just so good and so smart is that you're not. When I'm thinking of UGC, I want to reach out to people individually. I'm like, oh, I know Bob used my product and he liked it. Let me email Bob. But then that's just super time consuming. Whereas if you can create a, a database of people and a list of 20 people who are all experts on this topic, or 100 people, and you send out a survey. So if you can make a list of 100 and you can send out a survey, do you get 20 responses, and then you can pick the best quotes from those responses, and you get that statistical data. It just seems really smart to think about this from going wide perspective instead of it. Again, my first thought is like, I'm just going to email Bob, and that's just going to take forever, and I'll never make a piece of content if I take go that route.
Yeah, that's why, particularly for us, surveys were important, because surveys were open for, let's say, like 3 weeks, sometimes even longer. And then like contributors have enough time to respond. They were usually short, so it doesn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes of their time to contribute. And we actually had like it was easy to collect like all the data in one place. I mean, we're probably going to talk about this a bit later when we go into systems and processes, but just like to mention it.
Yeah, I have a question that obviously, like, this is something that is going to potentially become a bigger focus for most companies, especially because, like, as we said, authority is something that you need to build for your business in order to stay relevant. But let's say that you have to do this again, right? That you're just starting with it. Like, what are some of the first steps that you would look at? Would it be to like buff up like a big content list first, or like start small? Do you have any tips on like if you were like starting this over again from scratch?
I have like a shorter answer and a broader answer. Maybe I can start with the shorter answer first. You like need a way to collect content. So this could be as simple as a Google form or a basic survey tool. Then you need a space to share it. So this could be your existing blog or social media channels, or even like a dedicated landing page or dedicated like part of your website or forum or something like that. And you need a process to manage it. So even a simple spreadsheet can help you track submissions and contributor information, but like I wouldn't recommend using a spreadsheet. Like start small, experiment, and then gradually build out your program as you gain momentum. I'm going to explain like how we actually did it. When it comes to the team, we had 3 roles. So we had an outreach manager. This person focuses on building your contact list, conducting outreach, creating surveys. So when I say creating surveys, I don't mean designing the questions, like just building the survey in the tool, and like promoting the research initiative, like on social media and so on. In the beginning, it's very important to have a dedicated outreach manager, because most likely you won't have like an existing list of engaged contacts. You might have like a list for customers or like some community, but I'm not sure like to what level they're going to be engaged. Apart from the outreach manager, we had a content specialist. So this role requires someone who is capable of writing, like coming up with engaging topics, formulating insightful questions, and then like writing the actual reports. You might also work with freelance writers to help summarize findings, or you can do them internally. We always outsource this, so we had freelance writers who just like did the final report for us based on our instructions. And like the third team member that you need is a project manager or a coordinator. So someone who is going to oversee the entire UGC program, because this process has a lot of steps. And to ensure smooth execution and organization, you need someone who is just going to think about this, especially when you are juggling multiple projects at the same time. Regarding tools, so our minimum setup was a project management software. So we always use Asana. I really love Asana. Like I'm still using it today for anything. And it just has like a great parent-child task structure that you can use to organize like the entire project. So for example, our parent task is one article topic, and then the subtasks are actually all the steps you need to complete in the process. So this could be like research the topic, come up with the questions, approve the questions or review the questions or whatever. Then like build the survey, promote the survey, then like more subtext on different channels, like do it on social media, do it via email, do it on Haro, and so on and so on. So this is really, really like, we couldn't live without Asana. Apart from the project management tool, you need a tool for contact management. We used, since we are like a SaaS software, we use like our existing CRM, so HubSpot. But even like something simpler, like even a simple email marketing platform could work for this, because you basically need a place to manage your growing network of experts and contributors. And lastly, since our process was very unique and included survey creation, we also used a survey platform. So in our case, this was SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey offers advanced analysis features, and to use it like to its full extent, you actually need to have statistical knowledge to avoid misinterpretation of data. So initially, now we have like a dedicated marketing research analyst. We didn't have this from the very start. This is something that you do when you actually want to scale the program. And a lot of the things we did weren't good. So we had charts that were upside down, literally. I didn't know how we did it or why, but they were just upside down for some reason. And I think you can probably find in some older articles that are not updated, you can still find like some weird charts.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that just happens, but we just went with the flow. And so if you don't want to have charts that are upside down, I would suggest using SurveyMonkey or a similar platform to basically, you have like very helpful survey summaries that can help you track performance, view individual responses, and generate existing charts for your content. So this is like something that you can also use. And once you decide to scale the program, then like if this really works for you, you can maybe basically invest in more resources and more people like we did. I think like something that is very important when starting out is to adopt a reporter mindset. So focus on presenting the data that you gather in a clear and engaging way, rather than trying to perform complex analysis. And this is like the easiest way to leverage user-generated content with surveys with limited resources.
Yeah, and like thinking about like what you are saying, that it's very interesting, like the whole backup like structure, like if we don't count the people invested in the project, is almost free. The only tool that you pay is like SurveyMonkey. I think it's like $35 for
Monkey, because I guess
Yeah.
that like almost every company has a CRM already. They most likely have a product management tool. So yeah, like we never invested, I think, additionally, like we didn't spend a lot of money. We built the entire program organically.
Yeah, so the tools are there basically for you
Yeah.
to like hit the ground running.
Yeah. Can I let me just take a step back here. Is this something that you planned out in advance and pitched it to the client and said, "Hey, we're going to need to hire these people, and and then we're going to be able to develop these surveys and publish them every month," or is it because to me that seems like a big ask of a client? I don't think they'd see the big picture. It sounds really cool, but I don't think they'd see the big picture. Or did it somehow grow organically?
No, this definitely grew. I mean, when we started out, we were happy if we had like 15 responses.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know what we were doing. Like we tried to do something, and this is like, we needed, I think, like at least 2 to 3 years to really scale this.
Wow. Okay.
When I joined the company, I was the first phase of scaling that program, because I was the like editorial manager, like the person who's going to oversee everything, come up with new ideas and so on. Before that, like they just had like the director of marketing, the person who did the outreach, and like a content coordinator. And they also had like the roles were kind of mixed, because they also had like a community builder who promoted the surveys, worked on the social media channels a bit, but it was like, I wouldn't say like it was messy, but it wasn't what it is today. I mean, this is completely normal. Like should like start with some process, but that process is not going to be perfect. And like maybe like this is not going to work for you. So you need to find your own way, but you have to do it. Like you have to give it some time. I would say like at least 2 quarters and
Mm,
see what happens, because I think like this is really the right way to approach content today,
mm.
especially with all the things we mentioned, like with the rise of AI tools and all the generic content we are fighting with.
But I also think like what's really important here, in addition to like building authority for your brand and like bringing like externally validated experts to your domain, which makes like you like look a little serious, it's also kind of builds distribution to some extent into the entire process, because most people when they're like featured in a good light, especially in like very impressive content, like they're enticed to share it, especially like for instance you're like targeting someone who lives out of their personal brand and they're like constantly looking for good content to share to their audience. You're basically giving them a lot of you know material to come out to their audience and present themselves in additional good light. So I think this is like an additional step that needs to be also considered. And it's like, in a world where distribution is a nightmare, right? This sort of builds it in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our contributors are always eager to share our reports, and they always feel like, oh my god, I got featured in a Databox report. Like, I never felt like that was a big thing because I worked there, but I can imagine like it can mean a lot for a small consultant or maybe like a very small marketing agency, because it can give you a lot of exposure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you? Sorry, I was just going to go back to one thing. If I'm thinking of a small company here that doesn't have a outreach manager. That was the word I was looking for. Um, is there an even smaller MVP that someone can get started with?
I don't think it is. I
Oh,
mean, that was basically my shorter answer. I mean, maybe there is a way to have like an internal content specialist to collect quotes for you, but I think they can only collect quotes. It
yeah.
can't go like far beyond that, like to design the service, to create them and
Mhm,
everything. It's just like a lot of work for one person. But if
mhm,
you want to go like very, very like MVP, you can just have your internal content specialist collect expert quotes using
mhm,
social media. I think that's the
mm.
easiest way to reach out to people. And usually like they're very eager to respond. I mean, they never they don't think it's like spammy or something like that. I mean, it
Right.
depends how you approach it, but usually like we had very positive response.
Got it.
Do you think this program actually helped grow Databox's presence in a different light?
I think definitely yes, because usually how companies approach this, they're trying to promote their own vision, ideas, to build thought leadership. And Databox build thought leadership by creating content with their audience. So the key here is not to create content for your audience, but with your audience. And like that's what we are known for now. So we are someone who is not afraid to show opinions of others, who is not afraid to like showcase different experiences. And it's all about figuring out things together. We never positioned ourselves as a jack of all trades, like we know everything, we're the best. But we're always like, hey, our customers are the ones who know the best, because that is really true. And like, let's ask them for help. And our customers are also our audience. So that's like how everything works together.
You basically said what I think it's very important. This is like your ultimate feedback loop. And if you
Yeah.
establish like real connections and you are giving people more than just basic like product transactional value, but like even like a marketing platform where they can get featured, get potentially to like introduce to maybe their new customers, maybe like people who will co-market with them later. I think this is like a good leverage point, especially like as the company evolves, now that you have an active community, you can easily like even kickstart let's say a conference, a meeting, a webinar, right? Because the audience is actually engaged and it's kind of two-faced.
Yeah, like right now, even though I'm not personally a part of this, Databox has debug sessions. So they actually take research results from longer surveys that are open for like 6 months or more, and they talk about the findings live. So it's actually every
Hmm.
Friday, and
Huh.
there were sessions where they had more than 100 people. I mean, to have like 100 people live on a Friday, for me, that's like huge success.
I can think of one other company that does something like Databox. So there's a company called E-commerce Fuel, and they do a once a year massive data dump. Basically, it's a private community, but they basically do a very, very, very long survey for their community, and then they post all these results on their blog. And it's really interesting because it's a private community, and they compare answers year over year. So it'll be like last year 30% of our audience use Shopify, this year it's 33, and the 3% of people came from Magento and WooCommerce stores, stuff like that. Are there other companies that do maybe larger sort of big surveys like that?
I am not sure. Like at this moment, I saw companies that, for example, uh, gather data from their own software,
Mm,
and
yeah.
then you present some results. We also did the same thing. For example, we still have like a post. So top Google Analytics metrics marketers track. And how we found this out, basically we went into our product and see like the metrics that most customers visualize on their dashboards. And then like based on this, okay, if I don't know, 1,000 people track these 5 metrics, they must be important. So let's report on them. And we did the same for Google ads, for Facebook ads, like for similar for big integrations.
Yeah.
I think that like Hockey Stack, they have like benchmark reports. They're using data from their own platform and basically applying a thought leadership approach to those
Mm,
reports, and they basically try to analyze why have some people invested more or less in some quarter and similar things. It's
hmm
very interesting, but
mm,
that is what comes to mind right now.
nice. I was just thinking, there one other example a couple years ago. Netflix, I remember on social media started sharing. It's like X% of people love this show, or not just the top shows because that's kind of basic. But I remember them posting some stuff on social media about like if you like this movie, then you like this movie, or stuff like that. But there was a bit of a backlash, and people thought it was sort of like an invasion of privacy. So here's a good question: how do you share that without betraying people's trust and feeling like Big Brother that's just giving your data away?
No, it's always anonymous, and in so we are never going to name any company or something like that. I think we even don't have access to the data, even if we
Mm,
wanted. But it's
mm,
always like, for example, getting the broader data. So we know how many customers are using, for example, GA4, HubSpot, Google Ads. So we can, based on that data, we can say like these are the top 10 most popular marketing integrations. So we take like a sample of all the marketing agencies we have and all the tools they like use connect the Databox with, and that's how we get the data. But like companies themselves aren't involved in that. I think like it's nothing like that is I don't know, alarming, and it's nothing bad. I think it's actually helpful. I don't see it as an invasion of privacy or misuse of data. So that's my personal opinion. So
I want to switch gears a little bit and refocus on, like, let's say, just like growing the blog with user generated content. And the cool thing, like, you built a list, and the program is going well, but we could come into like a point where there is like contributor fatigue. So let's
mm,
say, just like, you got your like 3 mentions on the Databox blog, and you got your backlinks. How do you keep the folks engaged? Do you have any instruments or like strategies to just like nurture those relationships? Because I think like in addition to setting up the system and like running the entire operation, there needs to be some effort invested into actually nurturing the relationship.
Yeah, that's something that makes sense. When it comes to building those relationships and engagement, again, I wanted to share what worked for us. First, like you are the one who has to be consistent. You have to turn the content contribution into a habit for your chosen experts. So, for example, a Databox, like they always know they're going to receive an email on Wednesday or Thursday. They always know like the content of the email. Like they understand the entire process, what is going to happen, what are the next steps. So, establish a regular schedule for sending out surveys or whatever like method you decide to have for a program. Use clear email templates and set deadlines for participation. So that is the first thing. The second thing is, as I like mentioned before, it's really important to provide truly valuable content. I think like this is the biggest incentive for contributors. And if like in our case, if you contribute to the survey, like you are among the first people who are going to see the results. And so one incentive, like if this is a burning topic for you or a problem, like if you contribute, you are like, you are going to see the answers sooner and maybe like gain some new knowledge sooner. It is something that I think really, really worked for us. So try to deeply understand your audience's pain points. I know that this feels basic, but it's really, really, really important. And really try to understand like what questions they need answered. So focus on the topics they care about and invite them to join the conversation and to share their unique perspective. And ensure like that your final content piece really provides valuable insights and exposure for them. And I think like one of the things that also makes our contributors come back is that we really embrace diverse viewpoints. So we are not pushing our own agenda. So we are showcasing a variety of perspectives to build trust and credibility. And we are positioning ourselves as curators. So act as a facilitator of knowledge and try to bring together different voices and insights. I think this was really key when it comes to like what made our contributors stay constantly engaged and, you know, they constantly participate in the conversation. Even like when we rerun all surveys, they, you know, sometimes we have contributors who answer again because they want to see like the new data, the new results, like because best practices always change, challenges change and so on. So they still participate because they want to see like what are the new trends, what are the new things people are doing, like what are the mistakes maybe some people are making and so on.
So related to this, I think Goran was talking about contributor burnout, exhaustion. Let me take it from a slightly different angle. How do you engage someone? And the example I have is, so there's, I think this is similar. So help a reporter out. Haro is a thing. I don't know if it's people will say, "Hey, I'm looking for an e-commerce expert on blah blah blah." I'll reply. I've done it maybe 3 times, and I've never heard a response back. And so even though I could get featured in a thing, I've just never. I've tried it 3 times, and I've just given up, and I'm just not going to go back to that website. Like it doesn't.
Well,
You know, I respond to a couple of questions and never heard. So I guess, do you have any metrics or any processes just to get? Because I feel like if you get someone to contribute once, they'll probably keep doing it. Is there anything about getting someone to contribute that first time? And you know, maybe it's like there's someone who contributed to this survey who's never contributed before. We should definitely feature them on the blog. Is there anything like that?
we like there were times when we even had complaints for some trips, like why am I not featured? Like I left a quote like 5 times, and we said like your quote isn't good enough. Like it's really generic. Like you, like it's not helpful. Like this is something we can find online, so it's really not useful to us. Like sorry, but try to provide like a better answer, to really share your own experience or to, you know, contribute to a topic that better fits your skills. So we were very honest and transparent about our process. And I think like you have to set really clear expectations. basically to have clear guidelines as well. So content length, content format, how you structure the question. What worked for us is to really like highlight the experience. So even if they didn't have results, like with a specific tactic or whatever, like share like your bad experience. We still want to talk about that.
Yeah.
If you ask generic questions, you are going to get generic answers. And especially now, like we had issues like with AI generated answers, believe it or not, and you can really see them. Like if you're in this like for years, you can really see when the answer is genuine or if they, left an answer just because they wanted a backlink. So first, like you should be honest and transparent and have like clear guidelines and a clear process in place and set those clear expectations. And then you can like, that's the first step to get like the best answers. Yeah.
You just sort of glossed right over that you give people feedback. I know, we live in a very busy world and lots of people just ghost and like emails go into a black box that never gets answered. So just the fact that you're responding is, hey, I submitted 5 different quotes. Why wasn't I featured? Just the fact that you're responding to people is that a little bit, you actually, if they care about feedback, they'll read it and they'll grow a little bit. So a little tough love is a very valid, hey, here's some critical feedback. It's very generic. Make it more unique, interesting, compelling, and we'll feature it on the blog is, I think, a step above many companies that just, there's lots of email inboxes. So I think you glossed over that, but I still think that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, we really do reply, like especially if someone is frustrated. We really like reply to negative feedback because that is negative feedback for us.
Yeah. Also, one interesting thing that do you think that because it's so hard to get featured, so because you had to hit like so many like things, does this actually make people more engaged to like get featured? Because it's same, I don't know if you like any of you like play video games, like it's really popular today like to people play like souls like games because they are like very punishing, and for instance it's rewarding when you finally kind of get over that hump. Do you think that the rigorous system is actually motivating people to try harder and just kind of invest some actual sweat into like producing quality content that could get featured?
Well, maybe. I think like really it's what you provide, it's what you get. So if you really want to share your experience, your knowledge, like you're going to get the same thing back because that is, after all, what affects the quality of the content. If we accepted any submission, like you can imagine what the content would look like. So you have to moderate. You can't just, I'm going to publish all the quotes I collected.
So Tamara, I think the one thing we haven't talked about yet is probably how do you measure the results? You did say one thing. I think you said you want to give it 2 quarters. So there's a time frame of like at least 6 months. But what sort of metrics are you looking for? Maybe at the end of that 6 months or at the end of a year, at the end of a certain time period, what do you want to see to know that this program's working and is worth pursuing?
Yeah. So there are different groups of metrics that you can track. I recommend tracking all of this if possible. So if you're doing surveys, there's some like survey specific metrics. So number of open surveys. This is important because it indicates how actively you are engaging in UGC initiatives. So if you are running like 1 survey, 5, 10, or, because based on that like effort from your end, you can also expect the results on the other end. Then like number of responses per survey. So this shows the level of interest and participation from your audience. Then also time to close a survey, because a longer time to close may indicate issues with your outreach or survey design. So it's one thing if you're running a long survey and you want to collect answers for 6 months, like intentionally, and it's a different thing like when you are struggling to collect answers for months. So that is why time to close is important. So there are also some audience growth and engagement metrics. So it's very important to track contact list size or contact list growth because it reflects the expansion of your network of potential contributors. Then also I recommend tracking new versus regular survey respondents. because a healthy influx of new respondents indicates that you are reaching a wider audience. And it's also important to track the number of unsubscribers because it can help you identify potential issues with your content or communication. When it comes to content performance, you can track like number of visitors, like traffic on the final reports to see like the reach and engagement of your content. You can do the same for social media to see like social media mentions and shares. And when it comes to business impact, so this depends on your goal. In our case, this is primarily like signups, so leads, conversions. Try to track how user-generated content contributes to bringing new sales opportunities. What I think is the most important that will show you like the success of the program is growing your contact list and attracting new respondents, because this expands your pool of potential contributors, allowing you to gather like diverse insights and to nurture relationships that can later lead to those sales opportunities. I don't know if I was clear here.
I wrote these down. I think you gave us 9 KPIs. Sometimes I ask this question and people go, I don't know. So the fact that you gave us 9 KPIs is very important. And business results, surveys, how many people are survey growth, the list size growth. So I think there's a lot of good stuff there. Obviously, there's the business side, which is leads and traffic and stuff like that. But also, I think the unique stuff that I haven't really heard before is, how many people, how long are the surveys open for? That might indicate that you're not doing enough outreach. Stuff like that, I think is very, very, very helpful. So I love that.
Keep in mind that like Databox is all about tracking performance and measuring performance. So like if we have to know something, it's metrics and KPIs. Like I can talk about it all day.
I just think like when people see this episode, they will get enough information to like start. I think like I have one question, because what's really hard when you are like really into like this type of content is how do you find that healthy mix between like user generated content and original content that you are doing for yourself. So even if you are like opening your platform to bring external experts and just like create an idea that you are a business where like important conversations happen, you also want to build your own thought leadership, your own thoughts. So do you have any suggestions like how to properly like mix original content that's like soul thought leadership from your business versus user generated content?
This is like a very hard question. I spent a lot of time thinking about this because like in Databox, the core philosophy was user-generated content. Like the thought leadership approach was like you have to create content with your audience. And like we used actually the research findings to share our own message. For example, like when we did a huge report on reporting practices for B2B businesses, we found out that still like, I don't know, like 60% of people, they copy and paste screenshots into presentations or something. And, that is so outdated. And then we call this out and, it's also like a good place to promote our own products. So we did everything through that user generated content and always like by prioritizing our audience. So like ideally here I would say like do only this, but I know this is impossible. So maybe like since it's very hard to develop the program, maybe like just try to do it once a month, establish a process, establish a system, and just try to have one original report per month. And because you're probably going to uncover like a bunch of mistakes in your own process and system. And then as you fix things, try to scale up. Like then try to do it like 2 times a month, then like 3 times a month, and see like how everything works out for you. I think that there is no golden answer here.
Well, Tamara, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been so valuable.
Okay, I'm super happy to hear this because this is the entire point of me coming here.
Yeah, it's been very... Go ahead, Goran.
Yeah, I think like literally as I said, like if I was watching this episode and like I would have enough information to like literally start the program today.
And I really think it's the right way to do content now because of all the AI generated thoughtless content we are dealing with every day.
To all of our listeners, thank you for also tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, and tell your friends so we can carry on enticing awesome and influential guests like Tamara to join us and share their remarkable journeys. If you subscribe to the Plugin.fm website, you will get early bird access to our future content. Plugin.fm is brought to you by Freemius, your all-in-one payments, subscriptions, and taxes platform for selling software plugins, themes, and software as a service. If you're struggling to grow your software revenue, send a note to contact@freemius.com to get free advice from Freemius's monetization experts. My name is Patrick Rollins, and thanks for listening to Plugin.fm.